I don't know about the rest of you, but these last 11, 12 days, I'd say from the first of the month to about the 12th, have been absolutely so profoundly impactful, at least to my life, as to show me in a reflective way what it was that I was going through since 2013 when I went through my 33rd year birthday, representing Christ's birth or rebirth. And let me tell you, it was a hell of a fucking journey. Coming to this understanding that until I was from birth until 33, I lived a masculine energy life, 100%. When it was time to transition, the event that occurred had to be so magnanimously, so undeniably emasculating as to symbolically rip my manhood away from me, thrust me into an isolative state and the most fear-filled state of my life, and then let me come back from that to step into my feminine energy. What I mean by that is, my 33rd year, my wife was diagnosed with a 4 centimeter AVM in the left frontal lobe. Blood sac that puts pressure on the brain, causing all sorts of things. That was February of 2013. July of 2013, I diagnosed myself with leukemia. Have to have a splenectomy, and I'm literally stitched up from sternum to pelvic bone. And upon this chaos of change, I find myself wanting to help myself break free from the crazy relationship that I was with my wife. And for the first time in my life, I postulated the question, do I want to do something for myself? Or do I want to stay here with her and die? And I decided, no, I want to help myself. First time. Choosing that choice did two things. First, it cured the warrior path, the warrior wounded path that I was taking. Because inevitably, if you're living a wounded warrior's life, the end game of that is to come to understand that you fight for everybody else, but you've never fought for yourself. So that was the first epiphany, was accepting that I was finally going to do something for myself. Second was, how do I present this in the most sincere manner? So I approached my wife and I say these words exactly. I love you. I'm not happy anymore. And I think we should get a divorce. I gave her a hug, kissed her forehead, and walked away. 12 hours later, I'm just destroyed with what she does. Calls the police, SWAT team comes. It was a mess. Now, mind you, my diagnosis with leukemia, I was told by my doctor I had 3 years. And all of a sudden I found myself in jail not 2 months after my diagnosis. And I'm facing some of the most ridiculous charges that have ever been put forth on me. I mean, I have a clean record, never once having to deal with anything criminal-wise, period. I have a terminal condition, and my wife decides to throw my ass in jail in hopes of my death happening in there, just because I chose to help myself. Needless to say, this event unfolded with me having to choose to take a plea bargain because I was so afraid of dying in jail that I chose to take the easiest way out rather than fight for myself. So I pled, and by pleading, I got the most ridiculous sentence on a misdemeanor charge and had to face 24 months and had to deal with this whole thought of dying in jail and processing that. While going through the process, 8 months, 9 months into this jail sentence, I found myself following a protocol that I didn't realize was a protocol at the time, but now I understand it's definitely a process that happens. I had short hair, always had short hair. In jail, I let it grow. It reached a certain length, and all of a sudden, I started to think and see things differently. It grew longer and grew longer and grew longer, and like 12 to 16 months into it, I'm like, I'm starting to talk to God. I'm starting to extend my hand out to see if somebody will pick me up. I had a spiritual awakening in jail. Okay. I didn't find God in jail like everybody says that comes out of jail. Okay. But I literally did find God in jail. Or I should say, He found me. A person who was so analytical, so true masculine, so true embodiment of the Aquarius, non spiritualized, non actualized side. I mean, I was hard left. Now finding myself talking to what I couldn't see, what I couldn't hear, what I couldn't nothing, and just connecting with it. Ultimately, getting out of jail completely destitute. I went from everything that I worked so hard in my life for, everything that I achieved, the abundance that I brought into my life, to now literally walking out of jail by myself with a plastic bag of crap on my shoulder, with no friends, no family, no nothing. The journey goes, well, the transition goes smoothly, I should say, from jail to happen to find a shelter to go stay at. From the shelter, I stayed there about 2 weeks, and I ended up trying to find somebody, and this was my intention, find somebody whom which would be willing to take me in for whatever reason, and for me to offer a sincere companionship to them in return. Basically looking for anybody that would take me off the streets. I find somebody. Of course, she ends up being a narcissist, and her mother ends up being a narcissist too. So throughout this whole fucking journey, I am transitioning into what has become the feminine stage, where basically all masculinity is left, and now I'm just inundated with feminine energy. Not realizing this at the time, mind you. Processing this whole fucking transition, I find myself in a home with two narcissists going at it practically every day, and having to deal with my own life's events in any way possible. Fast forward, um, I live just with the daughter of the family, and I go through my own, I guess, rebirthing and coming into my own understanding of my feminine energy and what I was reflecting as a feminine through my person in my life, seeing the disgusting attributes, the the intense hate, and the willingness to just destroy at any cost, learning from her, from her actions, what it was that I didn't want to do, learning from her and her actions what it was I wanted to be, thus processing my own issues, culminating to an extent that 6 years after my initial interaction with her, I found myself so freed, so developed, that I wanted to help her. So I did. Now, how do you help a narcissist? I mean, we all know, or at least we've all been told, the narrative of impossible, brain matter doesn't change, all this crazy crap. But in my mind, my mentality, my reality, I have a very firm belief that nothing is impossible, everything can happen. When I started researching the narcissism, I mean, I went deep into it. Everything was so discouraging. Like the narrative was disgusting. And I had to formulate a method of approach. Like, how am I going to tackle this? Which way am I going to go about this? Being an Aquarius Life Path 11, of course, kick in my intuition and let that drive me through. I am putting myself as a sacrifice to a known wolf in the hopes that I can get through to her to help her step into a light that she doesn't even know exists, when everybody else is telling me repeatedly, no possibility, no fucking way, don't bother, you're just going to get destroyed, yada, yada, yada. In my pursuit, it was a ridiculous endeavor to take on. Like, looking back at it now, it's like, holy shit. But at the same time, the reward from it was incredible. Personally, at least. Putting so much effort and dedication and attention on a human being that thrives on all this was the most difficult task to be able to maneuver without fueling her narcissistic desire. Also, I had to become the master manipulator to be able to manipulate her into a specific mindset as to be able to be more receptive to what was happening around her. So, as a divine feminine, I'm learning how to become a masterful manipulator in the sense of the intention being good, reversing the bullshit that was done to her with the manipulation intention being evil. I hope you understand that. So I came at her with a manipulative way, but my intention was good, not evil, even though it was manipulative. So I manipulated her into believing that basically we were in a codependent relationship when it wasn't codependent. I was literally setting everything up to seem that way so she had control, and allowed her to enter a state of equilibrium, which is weird for a narcissist, by giving her what she needed as a narcissist, but without her understanding it was being given to her, thus not allowing her to have to come at me as a narcissist. This was a little tricky. So basically, I had to preemptively see this desire, this need, this upwelling that would ultimately expose the trigger of the narcissist's attack, and preemptively fill it and then subdue that intention. It gets better. As I'm processing this and processing this and processing, I've got in the back of my head, like, I don't see any progress, man. I don't see any progress, man. Everything around you is telling you to get the hell out, go do your own thing, stop wasting time, stop wasting time. But I really believe in my heart that everybody deserves a chance to be helped. To say I have compassion and dedication is a joke. I mean, those are just words to describe the intensity of my dedication. That just doesn't touch it. No stone unturned, and I mean no stone unturned, to give it 100%, 100% of the time, and to have to adapt to not see any progress that you're looking to see, until one day something shifts. Something in the air is different. The attitude is different. Her presence, softer, lighter, less intense. All of a sudden, I see her doing something that she had no interest in explaining to me or telling me anything about. That was something new. Her wanting to go do something on her own without telling me about it was really freaking weird. And then what I find out a few weeks later, what she was doing is she was starting to draw and paint. She was coming from a creative state within herself that she didn't understand. She didn't fight, but she kept it secret because she was uncomfortable with what was happening and didn't know how to handle it. A month and a half into it, I walk into her room one day and I see her entire room, every wall, with just these beautiful flower paintings and these beautiful just watercolor paintings. And it was something, as a narcissist, from the beginning of our relationship, she would repeatedly state and act and project this air of painter and so much talent. And you know what I'm talking about, taking that narcissistic standpoint of being the best at something she's never done before. And here she is, and she's done it. And I'm looking at the dedication that she's put into it. And she's actually good at it. Now, if that doesn't warm your heart, I was crying like a fucking baby to see, almost as a mother, the impact of her love through her child's expression of creating this artwork. Needless to say, that amped me up. Now, of course, I can't tell her anything. I can't include her in the plan, because then that would lay waste to everything I've done, because her narcissism would take over and destroy it. So I keep a closer eye on it. I follow, I pay attention. I seize opportunities for growth and for me to say something and shift the mindset. Constant. And one day, on June 6th, portal day, okay, when this energy upwell happened for the entire 24-hour period of June 6th, such an extreme amount of energy just blanketed the earth. And I found myself seeing her in a new light, but understanding that there was an issue coming from me that wasn't allowing the true transformation to fully come over. What I mean by that is, my intention to help her was true and sincere. My actions to help her were true and sincere. But my mindset, even though it was on the impossible being possible, I still had emotional context from narcissistic relationships in my past that were being projected onto her. So there was a disharmony within my thought process. Realizing that on the 6th of June, from this energy upwelling, I'm able to switch that off. I'm able to forgive and let go. I'm able to sincerely take in this person for what she was as a representation in front of me. And I watched her take her first conscious step into the light. One. So from creativity, from artwork, blossomed the first step that I saw her that nobody can ever take away from her or from me, seeing and acknowledging and accepting the truth that I just saw a narcissist do something that's impossible to do. And I don't care what anybody says. The fact that I'm not explaining to you what happened is how personal the step was for her. As an 11, any of you 11s out there listening to this will know the truth that I speak. This triggered so many reactions in that moment that's just astonishing. It showed me the feminine journey that I was on, that I didn't know until that point that I was on. It showed me through her the connection starting from my mother, Karen, to my relationships that followed the pattern of Katie, Christine, Kelsey, 2 K's and a C. Katie was disrupted. She was the first love. Okay, so I never got to see her expression. Christine and Kelsey were straight up narcissists. Okay, had the 33 Jesus Christ rebirthing experience with Christine, and had the culminating rebirth with Kelsey, thus fixing and seeing myself fix the feminine energy from my family into a new stranger, and accepting that that was part of the journey. And it went further, realizing that the narcissistic upwelling in the population today stems from an event that dates back all the way to, wouldn't you know it, Jesus and his partner, Mary Magdalene. That was an Aquarius as a mind. That was a representative of the divine feminine. That was, all intensive purposes, an actualized, spiritualized Aquarius that had her name and her image that she truly spent so much time working on, just absolutely destroyed, mocked, run through the mud, turned into a prostitute, turned into all this negative projection from a male that wanted to push a specific male-centric agenda. Mary Magdalene represents the first massive, emotional, energetic shifting in the feminine line, that from a fractalization process, that energy went from her as a single point and fractalized out into every female. Some got it, some didn't, some families lived this way, but that initial trauma was her. The wounded warrior is who? Jesus. So he was a man that was stripped of his masculinity. He was destroyed for being this. Here we go with a wounded warrior, masculine energy filled with this opposing energy that should be positive, but it's resonating in a negative fashion. And look what it boiled out to: a bunch of men that are emasculated, don't stand up for themselves, feel lost, feel no purpose. I mean, it's very cut and dry. And on June 6th until today, which is the 12th, I was shown really clearly like my life path. And I'll tell this story for another day, but I'll tell you the end result. The first 33 years of my life that I was in masculine, the lesson I had to learn in a masculine state was what my impact would be to my father, who was the monster in my life, and how he murdered my mother, killed himself, and how I would dedicate my time into figuring out why it was that the only person in the family, I mean the entire family, who had a legitimate reason to hate this man, a legitimate reason to loathe everything about him, a legitimate reason to flush his shit down the toilet, why I was the only one that took care of his body, brought his body next to my mother's body so I can see them together one last time in an image of love as opposed to hate. And how a 14-year cycle of dedication to him culminated in such an amazing reversal of everything, to say, to bring the truth to light, that part of my life was dedicated to my father figure completely. And then the second half of my life was dedicated to my mother figure completely. Ultimately, man, there's been so much crap going on, so much energy. It's overwhelming. And I know, I'm reaching out to see, are there any other people that are going through this? I mean, I've been shown certain truths and certain information, like how I'm strongly feeling and being led to understand that we should stop talking in a descriptive manner about things and start focusing intently on expressing through experience. That's why I kind of told you the story. Like my entire life is a shit show. I mean, from day one until today. But it's a constant shit show. It's an intentional shit show that blossomed into something unexpected and is still going. And I have no idea where it's going to end up. When I saw the event with my friend, that beautiful event that I'll never forget. Forget about you seeing your children walk for the first time, man. You gave birth to them, they're of your blood, they're this. Imagine helping a perfect stranger that, for all intents and purposes, hates the hell out of you, despises you, and will do anything to manipulate and destroy you. Spend time with that person, learn so much about yourself through that person, and through dedicated passion, see that person achieve something that was never possible, and watch that person take that experience in full force. Okay? I'm not knocking childbirth and watching them walk, but this took 8, 9 years. Yours took 9 months to birth, and then what? Another 3 years? Okay? This was huge of an experience for me. Huge. And for her. I got to change the course of her life. Whereas before me, there was no course. Before me, she didn't even know she was a narcissist. She had no idea. So this was an intense event. Upon realizing this event and experiencing it, processing it, reflecting on it, I go through a switch, a transition again. I go from feminine energy, and all of a sudden I find myself in masculine. I find myself literally letting go of all of that resentment, victimized persona, fear of everything around me, the anxiety of body issues and body image and all this crap, dude, that's just absolutely amazing to have experienced. Totally fucking cracked out, in my opinion, for any woman to have to feel like that. And to be in a masculine energy now and to see it and to understand instantly the pain and suffering that every woman has gone through, and how I, as a blinded masculine, jumped the gun to label these women and feel such a depth of sorrow for that if any woman is watching this, please understand how sorry I am for you guys having to go through that. Whether you know it or not, it's not your fault. The feelings you're feeling are yours, and what's happening around you is not your fault. I really believe this transition phase of shifting from the old to the new, entering the age of Aquarius, I think we've already been in. But anyway, I believe the first birthing pain is already showing itself. It's this awakening to the truth. And from my truth, from my perspective, my mother and my father are very firmly represented in Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Helping my father and my mother the way that I did helped Jesus and Mary clear that energy in my mind and my reality, and thus freeing my ancestors from this unjust portrayal of lies, as opposed to seeing them for the actual truth that they were. When I realized this, all of a sudden, I'm in Colorado Springs, this storm comes, and it just dumped so much water and so much hail for such a long time, like an hour, as to seem like a biblical flooding, to then realize, Spiro, you're the water bearer. You just went through something so emotionally releasing, literally culminating about an hour and a half ago, to such an epiphany of understanding of how far back you weren't just generationally breaking curses, you were ancestrally breaking curses, bringing to light truth from experience. And it dumped, like an Aquarius would, all the water it needed to dump to spread out that love and that information. Let go of all that resentment and anger and unnecessary emotional anguish to bring justice to both man and woman alike, to shine both of them into the light that they should be shown in, and to respect the impact that I had and that I'm being shown. Call it coincidence, call it whatever you want. The way it was, what it was. I know what was happening, what was representing. I mean, I'm Aquarius. I was standing in it. It was such a sense of accomplishment, such profound accomplishment. I found myself at a loss. What do I do now? What's next? How do I approach life? I'm back into my masculine, but I am balanced with my feminine. I see what I've done in the past, and I understand what I should do in the future. My life of 42 years has come to an end. A cycle of masculine and feminine has come into an end. Now I feel like I'm entering a period of reflection. So yeah, I needed to get this off my chest. I wanted to put it out there, see how it's received, and figure out certain other aspects of what I think this new understanding of not telling people how to or what to, not giving people a set list of processes and steps. I want to take that analytical side of informing, and I want to bring the feminine into it. And I want to be experiential. I want my story to be told by me in the most sincerest, truest way, as to understand that that wave pattern of energy will emanate, and I believe will reach a lot more people on the inside, as opposed to having to listen. So if I can tell my 11s anything, it's whatever stage you're in right now. If you have this urge to express, whether you've entered your feminine side or masculine, or vice versa, whether you've balanced yourself or not, you are capable of understanding what's being said here. Whatever you're standing in, find the opposite, attach it to it, and express your situation from an emotional state. I know it's gonna be a state of vulnerability, but that's the point. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable. This wasn't easy for me to talk about this. And show people through your expression the full gambit of the experience, allowing for a much wider distribution of impact. I also believe that there's stuff coming in the future for us 11 specifically that's going to really shift the understanding of what we're here for. And I guess we just have to wait and see what happens. All right, I've taken enough of your time. Thank you so very much for listening. To all my ladies out there, I love you. You're beautiful. Don't hate yourself. Love yourself. Please love yourself. To all my men out there, do not put yourself down. You are the warrior. Stand up for yourself first, and then all others will be second. I love you all. Peace.